So the first thing we've done is taken the top tray and put it at the bottom. Because that's full of bedding, and we've taken the bottom tray and put it at the top. And that's all pure castings. So we're about to sift through them to get the worms and the eggs out. This is actually the next level down. That's full of bedding and worms. This is video 3. What you can do is take the lid off, leave them out, even maybe in the sun just for a little bit. Give it a bit of a rake. Like that. And the worms hopefully will move down into the next level. But they don't always, so I quite often don't bother. To start, that fluid in the bottom is called leachate. Leachate is all the wet from the food and from the poo that goes into the bottom. Some people think that's worm tea. It's not. Leachate, from what I've read, it needs to be diluted and it can be used, but the worm tea is the fertiliser we're looking for. And that's full of what they call leachate. You've got to get your worms out of there too. And you can see some castings on there as well. Thanks. And I'll explain what leachate is later. So I'm sure everyone has their own method, but this is how I sift the castings. I've got a wheelbarrow and a sifter here. And you can either get a shovel, or in my case I like to use my trusty claw, but you don't want to go chopping any worms, so I don't like the shovel idea. Then you just put it on the sifter. Like that. You see all those worms there? And I just quickly pick them out by hand and put them back in that middle tray. I'll remove this top tray soon. So the middle tray there will be beside me, or I call it the bottom tray. And I'll just pick those worms out quickly, one by one, chuck them back in there in the other bedding. I'll just go through that until I have pure castings. And I'll show you what that's like when we're finished. If I find any eggs, sometimes it's full of eggs, sometimes it's not, depending on the season. If I find any eggs, I'll show them to you. These wormies. So I've been asked when I was selling this, because I'm selling this to a lady, that's why I'm doing this video, how many worms did I think my farm had in it? Well, I wouldn't have a clue, but just a rough idea. That was that one handful of soil, and I found 29 worms in it. And if you have a look just here, there's one there. So that's how tiny they can be. So as you can imagine, I wear my glasses when I'm sorting through it to make sure I don't lose any little bubbies. And at the moment I'm just putting them in a little bit of bedding there, picking them out, putting them in the bedding, and then I'm going to throw them back in that middle or bottom tray. So, another thing, when you've sifted through it, any bits of uneaten leaf, bark, anything like that, I just shove back in the bedding. This is what I mean when I say I've aerated this for a while, hoping they'd go down to the next level. Here's scoop number 2. It's just full of worms. That's all castings with worms in it. So there'd probably be another 30 in that handful. So 3 handfuls and you've got 100 worms plus. So now we'll just go through and sift all the rest of it. Just give it a little like this, go through it, try and get that castings through the sifter and the worms back in some bedding and into their big bed.